Okay, so right now I'm going to show you how to perform a service with a basic B&G hand applicator. Now, to perform a chemical service in the state of California, you got to remember to make sure you're wearing all of your PPE. You got to have your long-sleeved shirt. You have to have your long pants on. You have to make sure that you have your proper boots, as well as some eye protection. Here I've got my sunglasses that have the proper NIOSH and the proper ANSI rating that covers the temple. Make sure that you have your 14 mil bioskin or other type of gloves on that are proper, and you also want to make sure that you have, if required in the job, head protection or company policy, your regular uniform hat, right? So now that you're properly covered, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you come and you unlock the application mechanism that you're going to use, okay? In this case, we already have 1 gallon of water prepared, okay? So I'm gonna come over here and get set up. Actually, in this case, we're going to use a brand new bottle of Temperate. Temperate is one of my favorites. It's a very effective pesticide, and it comes in a very easy to measure container. So you take off the tape that it was shipped in or purchased in from the distributor. Make sure you don't just throw that out, that you dispose of it properly. Also, you're going to prepare the gallon of water that you already have ready in the gallon container with your sprayer. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you got the proper mixing rate. So the very first thing you do is you familiarize yourself with a label. Now, if you already know the label and nothing's changed since the previous service, or you're already educated in the label, you're knowledgeable. But if it's your first time using the product, then every single pesticide that we have comes with this nice little booklet called the label. Now, I know when you usually think of labels, you think of the back of peanut butter jars and the back of food, but labels in the pest control world are very long booklets, okay, that have all the different measurement ratios used in different services. It also tells you where you can and where you can't spray pesticides, as well as different service protocols for different target pests. So familiarize yourself with the label, read it, get to know it, and then once you figure out how much you're going to put on, okay, squeeze that amount into the reservoir, dump it into the tank, and this is how you do it. So, you unscrew the lid. Do it slowly because it might be under pressure. Sometimes when it gets a little bit hot, the air inside will heat up. But you unscrew the lid, take off what's called the plunger, all right? Set it aside nicely. Then you fill it up halfway with water. Okay, you can also put in the whole amount of water if you so choose. Some labels require you to fill it up halfway first, others don't. Lift and dispose of properly in the correct area the little seal. We'll show you how to do that later. And then you fill the proper mixture amount to the level indicated on the reservoir. In this case, we've got an active infestation of ants, so what we're going to do is use 16 milliliters of Temperate, okay? You very carefully dump in the pesticide, shaking it ever so slightly so that you don't get any drips. Then you put the lid back on, set it aside, and fill the rest of the tank with the water. I've now filled the applicator with 1 gallon of water, 16 milliliters of Temperate, and we are ready to go treat the active ant infestation. Tighten the lid back on, replace the wand, agitate the solution, basically meaning shake it or mix it, and you're almost ready to roll. Put your Temperate back inside of the chemical case, obviously in the upright position, and you can put this in the proper disposal area. Hey babe, can I call you back in a second? Hey, oh, I gotta call you back in a second, okay? Okay, love you, bye.
That's totally staying in the video.
Yeah. Always answer the phone for your wife. And then make sure that you, once again, put under lock and key the chemical box. Okay. Now to begin the application, you want to make sure that you pump up the hand applicator until you get to the correct pressure. B&Gs don't have this, but some of the other newer Aerogas hand applicators have it. Then hold it where it's comfortable, making sure that you, in your dominant hand, have the wand. And then what you do is you first begin applying the pesticide to the base of the home. Okay? You also want to make sure that you put extra careful application volume and give extra careful attention to the cracks and crevices where things like crickets and other insects like laying their eggs. So spray the whole entire base of the home underneath what's called the drip line, meaning where the eaves hang over the base of the home, to begin your application. Now you'll notice, not only to preserve our material inside of the tank, but also to make sure that we don't over apply the pesticide, I'm spraying in small increments. You're not going to see me just walking along blasting as I go. If you come up against anywhere where there's some kind of water, okay, or some kind of moisture, you just got to skip it, because you don't want to apply where there's some kind of moisture in order to not get runoff, okay? Remember, if you ever get rid of any kind of dog or child barriers, to always put them back or re-lock them once you're done. Now, as you're going along, if you get to the base of some kind of potted plant, oftentimes ant infestations or spider infestations will start out at the root of plants. So make sure you get the bases of plants very effectively. You have to be able to see wherever you are spraying, so make sure you do not spray into any area that you cannot see. You don't want to just be reaching with your wand around a dark corner to try and spray for some ants, not knowing whether or not they're there. Now, you can just spray the patio furniture as it is, but to make it easier on you, it's best, if you're by yourself, to first tip up the patio furniture. Okay, this accomplishes two tasks. First, it lets the homeowner know that we were indeed here and actually did our job. But second off, it makes it a lot easier to see and identify any kind of spiders that might be living in the seams of the patio furniture. But it also makes it a lot easier to actually treat the patio furniture. In this case, we're going to treat preventively the bottom of the patio furniture to ensure that they don't get any black widows. This area has a bad problem with black widows setting up shop on the bottoms of patio covers, not patio covers, sorry, patio furniture, and then nipping people in the butt when they go to sit down on that patio furniture. Now, as I said before in the de-webbing video, you want to make sure that you pull out the mat so you can spray effectively underneath it. In this case, we got a little bit of standing water, so we're going to skip it for 5 minutes, wait until that's dried and come back, and then just continue with our service. We have another potted plant here, so we want to make sure that we get the base of it before moving along, making sure we get all of the drip line. Now, in this case, you'll notice I very carefully went underneath where these sandals are, okay? If you ever fear spraying something the customer may not want to be sprayed, make sure you just pick it up and you put it out of the way. If necessary, feel free to move away from the base of the structure. Any kinds of debris or any kinds of personal objects that would keep you from doing a proper service. Also, if you come across an area that has above average crack and crevices, make sure you get in there and you do a really effective job getting in those cracks and crevices so that crickets and cockroaches and ant nests don't form in those areas. Also, in cinder block wall cracks, there's a tendency to get large black widows. Many of the newer B&Gs, or the ones made by Aerogas, I believe is the company, come with a built-in crack and crevice nozzle head. If you come up to one of these cinder block walls where there's that gap, and you want to make sure that you get rid of the black widows that you'll see inside, what you want to do is take out this little nozzle, then you slowly screw it into the head of the wand, making sure that it's tight. There's actually a little plastic O-ring in there that keeps the pesticide from squirting out the side, okay? So usually it sprays out of the small fan. After you've screwed in this crack and crevice nozzle, make sure you switch it to being on the crack and crevice nozzle setting, and then you just apply inside the cracks and the crevices. You can see a very small amount comes out. Perfect. So once you've done that, make sure you take off the crack and crevice nozzle head, replace it back into the hand applicator, and then switch back to the fan setting on the nozzle and continue spraying. Now, in this case, we see that we've got a bunch of area here that's got either active spiders or has the potential for having active spiders. So you want to make sure maybe you spray the underside and along where any of these kind of boxes might be. You want to get the base of any shrubbery, the base of any trees. The ants always like setting up underneath the bases of plants. Anywhere where you've got these sprinkler heads, oftentimes that additional moisture will attract other insects, not necessarily due to leaks, but just because there's condensation on the pipes. So make sure that you spray this area preventively as well to make sure that there's no more bugs, no more ant colonies. If there is a leak, you're going to want to notify the homeowner to tell them to fix it so that you don't perpetuate a pest problem and become part of the solution, not part of the problem. Then you get up and you're going to spot treat the rest of the yard. It's not necessary in an IPM program to actually spray every square inch of everything unless you're maybe doing some kind of wood thrip treatment on a specialty bush or something. In most cases, what you're going to do is you're going to go around the yard and you're going to be going and spraying key areas to make sure that they don't get infestations. You're going to get cracks and crevices in the base where cement meets wall. You're going to be getting the edges of things. You're going to get underneath barbecues. You're probably going to be spraying where the wheels are because you're going to see small webs forming there, just making sure that there's no more spiders there. Skip the standing water, hit anywhere in the potted plants. Once again here, this is a wide crack, so you don't need to use the crack and crevice nozzle. You can actually just go up through it with the handheld. Then make sure you get the corners and the ridges of things, all right? In the old days, we could spray a little bit more liberally, but now, with the new pyrethroid-based pesticides, you're not allowed to spray unless it's a spot treatment or underneath the drip line at the base of the home on a non-porous surface. So you just have to be a little bit more targeted. In this case, we found a small ant trail, so we're going to want to follow the ant trail along the little lip here and make sure that we treat them there. Any surrounding roots where we find ants, we're going to spray as well. Whenever you reach a point where you notice that you're starting to get low pressure, just stop and give it another 10 to 20 pumps, and most of your B&Gs will be at the correct pressure again. When in doubt, in some of the newer units, you can always refer to the pressure gauge on the tank. Much better. Now you'll notice that we're coming up to some standing water right here. So you're going to want to skip it. Don't want to spray in there. Now, since I'm using tempered is a unique pesticide. It actually has what's called a B box on it, meaning that you're not allowed to spray it anywhere where you think there might be foraging bees. So these people have complained about spiders, and we've already dewebbed the house. We noticed that this bush has a lot of spiders on it, right? Well, what I'm going to want to do is use on the top of this bush a pesticide that's maybe not tempered, because bees might be coming after this when it starts to flower this month. If it's a month where it's not going to flower, I can spray this bush a lot more liberally to make sure that I don't have any spiders or that the customer's not bothered by any spiders. But for the time being, I'm going to spray where there's not going to be any bees. And I'll just make sure that I effectively deweb the bush. Also, to stop spiders from growing, you have to make sure you get underneath the lip of these brick walls. It's underneath oftentimes the black widows set up shop. So first you want to inspect and see where there's going to be any black widow activity, and if you see any, then just lightly spray the underside. Okay, we're good. Let's go over here. Make sure you get the bases of where patio posts are. This is a common place for black widows to want to set up shop. Make sure that's a spot treatment, and get underneath anywhere else where you suspect that there might be current or future black widow activity. Okay, awesome. We're good.